the Olympics, if you wanted to buy like a Quachi doll, it would cost you like 40 bucks. Nowadays, you can probably get like a bag of them for $1 at the thrift store. I remember I actually bought these little figurines at this massive Olympic merchandise liquidation sale. They will almost certainly never become collector's items just because there were so many of them made. And speaking of long forgotten Vancouver non-events, my next item here is a mug from Expo 86. Now, Expo 86, the more I think about it, like, this is just such a weird and dated thing that will only matter to Vancouver people. Basically, back in 1986, Vancouver was lucky enough to host the World's Expedition. This was back in the day when cities still cared about hosting world expeditions. I mean, when you study history, you always learn about like the Paris World Fair and the Chicago World's Fair. Eventually there was a Vancouver World's Fair, but I assume it must have been one of the last ones because you never hear about these things anymore. But anyway, when Vancouver did get the World's Fair in 1986, it was considered like this really big deal, the day that Vancouver was put on the map. And the city did develop a lot of its infrastructure in anticipation of that World's Fair. The most famous examples are the Vancouver SkyTrain, which is this monorail type thing that's like one of the major public transportation things in the city. And the other thing is Science World, which is what is actually depicted on this cup. Science World is this very iconic spherical building that I guess at one time hosted some Expo 86 stuff, but is now this science museum for children. It is like one of the 3 iconic buildings of the Vancouver skyline, along with Harbour Centre and Canada Place. But anyway, in recent years, Expo 86 has sort of had a kitschy revival in which a lot of the souvenirs and stuff are sort of coming back in fashion. The Expo 86 font is very iconic, and so are a lot of the colors associated with it, mostly like oranges and browns. You can get like Expo 86 art prints and Expo 86 t-shirts. I feel like the Expo 86 ringer tee is a very iconic Vancouver thing. Oh yes, and the other thing about Expo 86 is that it was supposedly the time in which it first became sort of publicly apparent that Princess Diana and Prince Charles were kind of on the outs. They were both at the thing, but apparently neither of them put much effort into looking happy. So you can look forward to that in season 4 of The Crown. Okay, and the next thing we are going to talk about is this here, this white towel. So the big sports franchise in Vancouver is the Vancouver Canucks, the hockey team. And one of the iconic things about being a Canucks fan is waving a white towel when you're at a game. I know that fans of other hockey teams wave towels too, but Vancouver likes to take credit for inventing this tradition. The story goes that in the 1980s, the Canucks were once in a game where they were down by a lot of points and they were racking up a lot of penalties. And so the coach of the time concluded that clearly the game must be rigged against us. And so to make fun, he sort of whipped out this white towel and started waving it in a mocking way. You know, like, oh, we surrender. And this act of bad sportsmanship became one of Vancouver's most beloved sporting traditions. There's even a statue outside of Rogers Arena, which is where the Canucks play, of the guy that started it all waving a white towel on a hockey stick. These days, of course, you can even buy special Canucks branded white towels, although I was unable to find one myself, even though I went to the official Canucks store, which is this god-awful overpriced tourist trap. Don't go to the Canucks store. Okay, moving on, the next thing we have is this thing here, the Thunderbird totem pole. This is actually a Thunderbird totem pole magnet. So the Aboriginal Indian people of the Pacific Northwest are very known for their very beautiful carved artwork, particularly their tradition of carving totem poles, which are these large tree trunks that have all these animal faces carved in them. In Stanley Park, which is like the iconic tourist thing to go to in Vancouver, they have this little enclave area where there's a whole bunch of totem poles. And the most famous, the most iconic one is this one, the Thunderbird totem pole. I don't know why exactly, maybe because it's just sort of the cleanest looking, most brightly colored one. It also has this big bird on top with the wings sticking out, which is sort of a cool design. The Thunderbird is also the mascot of the University of British Columbia, so I guess it's sort of integrated into broader Vancouver culture that way. And there's like so many different kinds of Thunderbird totem pole souvenirs you can buy, like little magnets and statues and snow globes and jewelry. But you want to know the dark secret of the Thunderbird totem pole? When tourists look at something like this, they think, oh wow, this is some ancient Indian treasure that was made like hundreds of years ago. But no, it was made in 1987. It is in fact younger than I am. And speaking of fake Vancouver history, let us close with this thing, the Vancouver Steam Clock. Now, the Vancouver Steam Clock is perhaps the single most famous tourist attraction in the entire city. It is all over all of the city's souvenirs as well. This is a Vancouver Steam Clock bottle opener. So the deal with the steam clock is that there is this part of downtown Vancouver called Gastown. Gastown was the historic center of Vancouver that the rest of the city grew out of, and today they try to preserve the original Victorian feel of the place. So there's like cobblestone streets and old storefronts and this kind of thing. And most famously of all, at the center of Gastown is the steam clock. And it is this old-timey steam clock, and it vents steam every time the hour chimes. Actually, I think they do it every 10 minutes. Tourists absolutely love the steam clock. They love to take their picture in front of it, which is of course lots of fun for the locals who have to walk past it. But as any hardcore Vancouverite knows, the steam clock is also a giant scam. It is not actually a historic artifact at all. It was built in 1977. My Vancouver comedian friend Colin Sharp even has a whole routine about how stupid the steam clock is.
So you know what's older than the Gastown steam clock? The rapper Ludacris. You don't get to be historic and younger than someone from Fast and the Furious.
But you know, tourists come to town expecting to see historic things, so we built one, they love it, everyone's happy, right? So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed learning some things about Vancouver as told through its objects. But here's the thing, I want you to help me make a future video by sending me some iconic objects from your city. It doesn't have to be anything particularly fancy, just little things like this that sort of tell the story of where you're from. Things that only people from your city will fully appreciate. I did one of these videos in the past and you guys sent me a lot of really cool things, so I'm looking forward to doing another. If you're interested, just send me an email and I will send you the address to mail me stuff. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you all next week.